Ellie and her boyfriend Sam have been dating for 4 years. Ellie was worried she might be pregnant, so one day she took the test only for it to come back positive. She called Sam immediately to tell him the news, but Sam's dad overheard their conversation. Ellie lives in an apartment in Harlem, which is not the nicest town of New York, while Sam's family lives in the Upper East Side, extremely wealthy. Sam's dad, Frank, was furious that his son's ghetto girlfriend was pregnant since it could completely ruin their family name and reputation. Without hesitation, Frank hopped in his town car and headed straight for Ellie's apartment. He arrived at Ellie's door to discuss the situation, and slowly the talking turned to arguing, to the point where Frank had his hands around Ellie's neck. As Frank drove away, Ellie's creepy neighbor noticed the unfamiliar car. He always notices she goes on a run this time every day, so he had a feeling something was up when he didn't see her pass by. The neighbor, Willie, walked over to Ellie's apartment to check and saw her lying dead on the floor, so he immediately called the cops. They narrowed down the suspects to a list of 4, being Sam the boyfriend, Frank the boyfriend's father, Willie the neighbor, and Rob, the local drug dealer. The DNA from the sweat around her neck was taken and sent to the labs for a DNA analysis. VNTR, which stands for Variable Number of Tandem Repeats, was run to compare the DNA samples of all suspects within 2 loci. The criminal should be evident because the suspect will have matching lines with the evidence sample for both loci. The results show that in locus 1, the victim, which is Ellie, is not a perfect match for the DNA sample because both lines do not directly match with the crime scene evidence. Therefore, we can immediately draw that she is not the criminal. Willie and Sam do not perfectly match up with the evidence sample for both lines. Therefore, we can conclude that neither of them committed the crime as well. We can tell that Sam is biologically related to his father Frank because one of their lines match each other in relation to location. The other unmatched line comes from the mother. Our last 2 suspects, Frank and Rob, are perfect matches because both lines are identical to the evidence sample of DNA. This means that we must look at locus 2 to compare and decide who the actual criminal is because the criminal must match the evidence sample for both loci. Even though Willie is a perfect match for locus 2, we can still eliminate him because he was not a match for locus 1. We can also eliminate Ellie and Sam because they were also not a match in locus 1. Frank and Rob were matches for locus 1, so if one of them matches the evidence sample in locus 2, we can conclude that one of them committed the crime. We can rule out Rob because he is not a match for locus 2. Frank is a perfect match for both 1 and 2, therefore our evidence is consistent with suspect 3, Frank, who is the boyfriend's father and strangled Ellie to death.
Without hesitation, Frank hopped in his town car and headed straight for Ellie's apartment.